In Winters versus United States, the Supreme Court held that the right to use waters flowing through or adjacent to the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation was reserved to American Indian by the treaty establishing the reservation. Although this treaty did not mention water rights, so although this contrast word is important here, this treaty did not mention water rights. The court ruled that federal government, when it created the reservation, intended to deal fairly with American Indians by preventing for them the waters without which their lands would have been useless. So it says that the treaty did not mention water explicitly, but the court ruled that the intention was to reserve water also, to preserve water also that can be used for the lands. So the reservation was for the lands. Later, decisions citing Winters established that courts can find federal rights to reserve water for particular purposes if. So it cites the criteria for courts to reserve water rights. The land in question lies within an enclave under exclusive federal jurisdiction. This is one criteria. The land has been formally withdrawn from the federal public lands. Third, the circumstances reveal the government intended to reserve water as well as land when establishing the reservation, like the one given in the example. So these are three criteria based upon which the courts can give water rights. So this passage simply tells me what led to setting aside the criteria for the courts. Okay, it cites one judgment and then three criteria following that. Some American Indian tribes have also established water right, have also established through the courts based upon their traditional diversion and use of certain waters prior to United States acquisition of sovereignty. Okay, so it says different conditions under which some tribes have got reservations through courts. For example, so it tells me a different condition, different way of getting rights. The Rio Grande Pueblos already existed when the United States acquired sovereignty over Mexico in 1848. Although they at that time became part of US, the Pueblo lands never formally constituted a part of federal public lands. Okay, so it's opposite to the condition given in this. Okay, it never became part of the federal public lands. In any event, no treaty, statute, or executive order has ever designated or withdrawn the Pueblos from public lands as American Indian reservations. Okay, so regarding the reservations, no law has been made. Okay, neither been designated nor been withdrawn. This fact, however, has not barred application of the Winters Doctrine. Winters Doctrine, we can relate it to the judgment given in the first passage. Okay. What constitutes as American Indian reservation is a question of practice, not of legal definition. Okay. And Pueblos have always been treated as reservations by the United States. So Pueblos have not been given any legal rights through any statutes, but it's a matter of practice. Okay, they've been considered as reservations. So the courts can apply, the Winters Doctrine to this condition also. Okay, so it's not just the legal thing; it's a matter of practice. Okay, so even if it doesn't fall in these three criteria, we can still apply the Winters Doctrine, which is nothing but mentioned in the first passage, to, the courts can rule in favor of giving reservations and water rights even if it is opposite or if it is not in these three criteria based upon the practice. This pragmatic approach, okay, is buttressed by Arizona versus California. So it gives one example, okay, of this approach. And the Supreme Court indicated that manner in which any type of federal reservation is created does not affect the application to it of the Winters Doctrine. Okay, any type of federal reservation. Okay, so doesn't matter in which the reservation has been created by the government, the federal government, the Winters Doctrine can still be applied by the courts. Therefore, the reserved water rights of Pueblo Indians have priority over other citizens' water rights as of 1848, because that's the time when they have been considered to have become reservations. So I would consider this passage as slightly difficult, if not very difficult. So this would be somewhere around 700 difficulty level, this particular passage. Now let's see. First question. The author cites the fact that Rio Grande Pueblos were never formally withdrawn from public lands primarily in order to do which of the following? First, suggest why it might have been argued that Winters Doctrine ought not to apply to Pueblos land. Now, if you see here, in no treaty, statute, or executive order have designated or withdrawn the Pueblos from public lands as American Indian reservations. After that, it says this fact does not stop the application of Winters Doctrine. So this is being said, this particular thing, okay. I mean, this is said to show that Winters Doctrine can still be applied. Okay, so it was assumed earlier that without this, people would think that Winters Doctrine cannot be applied. That's what it actually says. Okay, this is to show that Winters Doctrine can still be applied. So without which, it was assumed that people were thinking that it cannot be applied. See, let's see other options. Imply that the US never really acquired sovereignty. No. Okay, I mean, this is the exclusive meaning or exclusive purpose of writing this line actually. So you can simply eliminate all other options. There is no other purpose of this line. Second, the passage suggests that if criteria discussed in line 10 to 20, so we're talking about these lines, were the only criteria for establishing a reservation's water rights, which of the following would be true? Okay, so the three criteria mentioned there. So let's see. The water rights of the inhabitants of the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation would not take precedence over those of other citizens. It actually says it will take precedence. Okay, it reserves, water rights for these people. Reservations established before 1848. I mean, this doesn't talk about 1848 or whatever. There would be no legal basis for the water rights of the Rio Grande Pueblos. Okay. Now, if you see, these talk about the federal land should be, the land should be part of federal jurisdiction, whereas in the second passage it says, although Pueblos lands never formally constituted a part of federal public lands. So that's what it says. So the courts cannot grant legal rights to waters because the criteria is not met. Okay, that's your answer actually. Don't need to look at further two options. Next, according to the passage, which the following was true of the treaty establishing the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. Okay, so the treaty that established, treaty that was arrived or that was done by the government. It was challenged in the Supreme Court a number of times. So it's not given that it was challenged multiple times. It was rescinded. Nowhere it is mentioned that it's rescinded. It cited American Indians' traditional use of the land's resources. Traditional use is given in the second passage for Rio Grande people. It failed to mention water rights. Yes, because if you see, it says although this treaty did not mention water rights. Yes, that's what it says. The court assumed that it intended to grant, water rights also. It was not mentioned. So, I mean, Arizona versus California is not part of. I mean, it's out of question. Fourth primary purpose of the passage is to trace the development of laws establishing American. No, okay. It talks about, how did the courts grant legal rights, okay, or what was the criteria established, okay. Explain the legal basis for the water rights of American Indian tribes. That's what it says. So let's hold it for now. Question the legal criteria often used to determine the water rights of American Indian. It doesn't question. It explains actually. Okay. Nowhere it questions that the legal criteria is right or wrong. It doesn't say like that. Discuss evidence establishing the earliest date at which federal government recognized. It doesn't establish any date, for that matter, that the governments recognize the water rights. Point out a legal distinction between different types of American Indian reservations. Totally out of scope. B is the only option. Which of the following most accurately summarizes the relationship between Arizona and California and the criteria citing the Winters Doctrine? So if you see, so this is the Winters Doctrine, okay. It establishes certain criteria, and Arizona versus California, this part gives an example that those criteria, I mean, legal rights can be granted through some different criteria also. That's what it says. Let's see. Arizona versus California abolishes these criteria and establishes a competing set of criteria applying the Winters Doctrine. I mean, it doesn't abolish these criteria, okay, right? It adds to another set of rules, right? It doesn't abolish. It doesn't say those were wrong. It's out. Arizona versus California establishes that Winters Doctrine applies to a broader range of situations. Yeah, it adds to the situations there. It says, indicated that manner in which any type of federal reservation is created. Any type means it broadens the criteria there. So let's hold it for now. Arizona versus California represents the sole example of an exception to the criteria. It doesn't say it is the sole example, okay. It says it is cited as one example. It doesn't say this is the only example. It's totally out. Arizona versus California does not refer to the Winters Doctrine. It does refer. Arizona versus California applies the criteria derived from the Winters Doctrine only to federal lands other than. No, it doesn't derive anything. B is the right option. Pragmatic approach. Okay, so the pragmatic approach is mentioned just before the Arizona versus California example. If you see this one, okay, pragmatic approach was to include other criteria as well to Winters Doctrine. That's what it says. Grant recognition to reservations that were never formally established. Yes. Okay. It says it doesn't need to be a legal thing. It has to be something which is practiced. That's what it says actually. Okay. We don't need to look at any other thing. Next, it can be inferred from the passage that Winters Doctrine has been used to establish which of the following. rule that the government may reserve water only by explicit treaty, it's actually out. It's against it. Okay, it rule that the treaty doesn't mention water, but it will still grant. Legal distinction between federal lands reserved by American and federal lands reserved for other purposes, totally out. Criteria governing whether federal government may set land. No, it doesn't set criteria for federal government. It sets criteria for courts to decide. Special status of American Indian tribes, rights reserve. There is no mention of special status. Federal right to reserve water implicitly as well as explicitly. Yes, that's what it says. I mean, if the treaty mentions it, then there is no question. But even if the treaty doesn't mention it, okay, it was taken as intended, application. That's what it says. Last passage suggests that the legal rights of citizens other than American Indians to use water flowing into the Rio Grande Pueblos are first guaranteed. No, there is no guarantee. I mean, it's not guaranteed to other people. Abolished by Winters Doctrine. The Winters Doctrine doesn't abolish it. Okay. I mean, there's no abolition. It doesn't say that cannot be used. It's never mentioned. Deferred to the Pueblo Indians whenever treaties explicitly. Again, explicit is not the right word. It doesn't need to be explicit. Guaranteed by federal land use laws. Again, it says it's not a question of land, it's a question of practice. Limited by prior claims. Yes, the traditions, the practices, which is the prior claims. Okay, it's limited. It's not zero, it's